The sky bled red the day they came. 3,000 years ago, the Zarketh descended like locusts, their ships blotting out the sun, their weapons turning cities to ash. Earth burned, and with it, our innocence. They didn't come to conquer, they came to erase. Billions died in the first hour, their screams swallowed by the roar of plasma cannons and the crackle of disintegrating steel. I was 9, clinging to my mother's hand as we ran through streets choked with smoke and panic. She didn't make it past the second wave. I did, though I've spent every day since wishing I hadn't. They called it the Purge. The Zarketh believed humanity was a blight, a species too reckless, too defiant to be allowed to live. They scoured our planet, leaving nothing but charred ruins and a handful of survivors. Us, the ragged remnants, scattered like ash on the wind. For centuries, we hid, we scraped, we survived, we learned, we hated, and we swore that one day they'd pay. Now, 3 millennia later, I stand on the bridge of the Retribution, staring at the glowing orb of Zarkon Prime, their homeworld, hanging in the void like a ripe fruit begging to be crushed. My hands tremble, not with fear, but with the weight of what's coming. The crew around me is silent, their faces carved from stone, each one bearing scars of a war that never ended. We're not soldiers anymore. We're ghosts, forged in the fire of a dead world, and tonight we'll haunt them. "Commander Reyes," my lieutenant says, her voice sharp as the blade at her hip. "The fleet's in position. All weapons are primed. We're ready." Ready. The word feels hollow. 3,000 years of rage distilled into this moment, and still, it doesn't feel like enough. I nod, my throat tight. Light it up. The viewscreen flares as the first salvo launches. Antimatter warheads, stolen Zarketh tech turned against them. Their orbital defenses shatter like glass, raining molten fragments into the atmosphere. I imagine their cities below, gleaming spires of alien arrogance, trembling as the sky catches fire. Do they feel it yet? The terror we felt? The helplessness? "Direct hit," the lieutenant reports, her eyes glinting with something feral. "Their shields are down. Second wave incoming." I should feel triumph. I should feel the rush of vengeance fulfilled. But all I feel is the hole where my mother used to be, the echo of her voice telling me to run. This isn't justice, it's survival. It's the only language they understand. The Zarketh thought us weak, a primitive species unworthy of the stars. They underestimated us. While they built their empire, we clawed our way back from the brink. We scavenged their wreckage, reverse-engineered their machines, turned their own arrogance into our strength. 1,000 years ago, we took our first colony ship beyond the asteroid belt. 500 years ago, we cracked faster-than-light travel. And now, we're here, a fleet of human wrath, armed to the teeth with their own nightmares. "Commander," Captain Okoye's voice cuts through the static of the comms. He's on the Vindicator, leading the flank assault. Their fighters are scrambling. They're sending a distress signal. Reinforcements inbound from the outer systems. "Let them come," I say, my voice steady despite the storm inside me. "We've got enough firepower to glass half their empire before they get here." Okoye grunts, a sound that might have been a laugh if we still remembered how. "Copy that. Burn it all." Burn it all. That's been the rallying cry since the Exodus, when the last of us fled Earth's smoldering corpse. It's carved into the hulls of our ships, etched into our bones. For every child who starved in the refugee camps, for every survivor who froze in the dark, for every soul lost to their purge, we'd make them pay tenfold. The viewscreen shifts, zooming in on Zarkon Prime's surface. Their capital comes into focus, towering ziggurats of crystal and metal, glowing with an eerie violet light. It's beautiful, in a way, like a predator's scales before you see the teeth. Then the second wave hits. The warheads detonate in blooms of white-hot fury, swallowing entire districts in seconds. The violet light gutters out, replaced by plumes of black smoke and rivers of molten slag. Thermal readings spiking, the lieutenant says, her fingers flying over the console. Their power grids collapsing. Civilian sectors are taking heavy damage. Civilian sectors. The words twist in my gut. I see flashes of my own past. My sister, barely 5, buried under rubble. My father, vaporized before he could scream. Did the Zarketh hesitate when they glassed our schools, our hospitals? Did they mourn our civilians? Keep firing, I order, my voice cold as the void outside. No quarter. The lieutenant hesitates, just for a heartbeat, then nods. She's young, barely 30, but she's seen enough to understand. We all have. This isn't about mercy. It's about ending them before they end us again. The bridge hums with the rhythm of war, the low thrum of engines, the sharp beeps of targeting systems, the distant shudder of our cannons firing. I lean back in the command chair, my fingers tracing the worn patch on my uniform. Earth's old flag, a faded blue marble stitched by a dead tailor. 3,000 years, and it still feels like yesterday. Commander, an ensign chimes in, his voice tight. We're picking up transmissions from the surface. They're pleading. Pleading! I almost laugh. The Zarketh, with their 7-foot frames and their clicking mandibles, begging for their lives. I wonder if they even know what mercy means, or if it's just another word they never bothered to learn. Play it, I say. The speakers crackle, and a voice spills out, high-pitched, guttural, translated by our systems. Cease your attack. We surrender. We offer terms. Spare our young... I cut the feed with a flick of my hand. They didn't spare ours. Silence falls over the bridge again, thick and heavy. No one argues. No one questions. We've carried this grudge too long for second thoughts. Third wave ready, the lieutenant announces, awaiting your command. I stare at the burning world below, at the chaos we've unleashed. 3,000 years ago, they took everything from us. Now we're taking it back, one scorched planet at a time. I close my eyes, just for a moment, and see my mother's face, her last words lost in the flames. Fire, I say, and the sky burns again. The third wave tears into Zarkon Prime like a vengeful god's fist, and I watch it unfold in silence. The viewscreen is a tapestry of destruction, cities crumbling into dust, violet spires melting into slag, the atmosphere itself igniting in streaks of orange and black. The bridge crew doesn't cheer. There's no celebration in this. It's too raw, too personal. Every blast is a memory, every explosion a debt repaid. My hands grip the arms of the command chair, knuckles white, as if I could squeeze the past out of my bones. Commander Reyes, the lieutenant says, her voice cutting through the hum of the ship. Scanners show their fleets mobilizing from the northern hemisphere. They're launching everything they've got, fighters, frigates, even civilian transports retrofitted with weapons. I nod, barely hearing her. My eyes are locked on the planet below, on the glowing wounds we've carved into its surface. Civilian transports. The phrase snags in my mind, sharp and unwelcome. I see them in my head, Zarketh families, their young clutching at their parents, fleeing the fire we've brought. It's a mirror of my own past, flipped and distorted, and it makes my stomach twist. But I shove the thought down. They didn't flinch when they burned us. I won't flinch now. Intercept them, I say. No survivors. The lieutenant's fingers pause over the console, just for a second, before she relays the order. I catch the flicker in her eyes. Doubt, maybe, or something softer. She's too young to remember Earth, born in the refugee fleets, raised on stories of ash and loss. But she's old enough to know what this costs us. We're not just burning their worlds. We're burning what's left of ourselves. The Retribution shudders as our cannons roar again, sending a barrage of plasma lances into the void. On the tactical display, I see our fleet adjust. Hundreds of ships, each a testament to human ingenuity and spite, fanning out to meet the enemy's desperate counterattack. The Vindicator leads the charge, its silhouette a jagged scar against the stars, Captain Okoye's voice crackling over the comms. "They're throwing everything at us, Reyes," he says, his tone grim. "Fast little bastards. Fighters are slipping through our lines. We've got boarding craft incoming." Boarding craft. The Zarketh aren't just fighting to survive. They're fighting to take us with them. I can almost admire it, that stubborn refusal to die quietly. Almost. "Seal the decks," I order. "All hands to battle stations. If they want to fight up close, we'll give them one." Alarms blare across the ship, a harsh wailing sound that sets my teeth on edge. The crew moves like a machine, years of drills kicking in, their faces hard and unreadable. I unholster the pistol at my side. A crude thing, human-made, not some sleek Zarketh toy. It's heavy, reliable, and it's seen me through worse than this. The first impact hits us minutes later, a dull thud reverberating through the hull, followed by the screech of metal on metal. They're breaching us. I glance at the lieutenant, who's already pulling a rifle from the weapons rack. "With me," I say, and she falls in step without a word. We move through the corridors, the air thick with the smell of ozone and fear. The lights flicker, casting long shadows that dance like ghosts. My boots clang against the deck, each step a countdown. I've fought Zarketh before, ground skirmishes on fringe colonies, knife fights in the dark. They're fast, strong, their mandibles snapping like traps, but they bleed just like we do. And I've learned how to make them bleed. The breach point is chaos when we reach it, a jagged hole in the hull, sealed by emergency bulkheads, and beyond it, the sounds of gunfire and screams. My crew's holding the line, their weapons spitting defiance, but the Zarketh are relentless. I see one, a towering figure in segmented armor, its eyes glowing green through the smoke, tear a soldier apart with its claws. Rage flares in my chest, hot and familiar. I don't think, I charge. The pistol bucks in my hand, rounds slamming into the Zarketh's chest. It staggers, black blood spraying, but it doesn't fall. Its mandibles click furiously, and it lunges, faster than something that big should be. I duck, barely, feeling the wind of its claws above my head, and drive my shoulder into its midsection. We hit the deck hard, a tangle of limbs and fury. My free hand finds the knife at my belt, and I bury it in the soft spot under its jaw. It thrashes, then goes still, its weight pinning me for a moment before I shove it off. "Commander!" the lieutenant shouts, firing at another Zarketh closing in. Her rifle's steady, but her voice trembles. I scramble up, adrenaline singing in my veins, and join her, our shots cutting through the haze. The enemy falls, one by one, but more pour through the breach. Too many. "Fall back!" I yell, grabbing her arm. "Regroup at the choke point!" We retreat, dragging wounded with us, the corridor a mess of blood and broken bodies. My chest burns, not just from the fight, but from the weight of it all. This isn't how I imagined it. Vengeance was supposed to be clean, triumphant. Instead, it's this, a brutal, ugly slog, with death on both sides and no end in sight. Back at the choke point, we dig in, barricading the hall with debris and fallen weapons. The Zarketh hammer at us, their numbers thinning but their ferocity undimmed. I catch my breath, wiping alien blood from my face, and glance at the lieutenant. She's pale, her hands shaking, but she meets my gaze with a nod. She's still here. We all are. "Commander," An ensign's voice crackles through my earpiece. The fleet's holding, but we're taking losses. Their reinforcements are 30 minutes out. 30 minutes. An eternity in a fight like this. I look at the crew around me, exhausted, battered, but unbroken, and feel something shift inside. This isn't just about burning their worlds anymore. It's about proving we're still human, still worth something, even after everything they took. Hold the line, I say, my voice steady despite the chaos. We finish this. The Zarketh charge again, and I raise my pistol, the weight of 3,000 years behind every shot. They burned Earth. Now we burn them and ourselves, down to the last ember. The choke point holds, but barely. The air is thick with smoke and the copper tang of blood, ours and theirs. My pistol's barrel glows hot, each shot a punctuation mark in a sentence 3,000 years long. The Zarketh keep coming, their armored forms crashing against our barricade like waves on a crumbling shore. I see one of my crew, a kid, barely 20, go down, his chest torn open by claws. I fire, and the alien drops, but it's too late for him. Too late for too many. "Commander Reyes!" the lieutenant shouts, her rifle spitting fire beside me. "We can't hold much longer. They're breaking through." She's right. The barricade groans, metal bending under the weight of their assault. I taste ash in my mouth, a memory of Earth clawing its way back. My mother's face flashes again, her eyes wide, her hand slipping from mine. I shake it off. No time for ghosts, not now. "Grenades!" I bark, pulling one from my belt. The crew follows, a ragged chorus of clicks as pins hit the deck. We hurl them over the barricade and the corridor erupts. Flashes of light, shrieks of pain, the wet crunch of alien flesh. It buys us seconds, maybe minutes. I grab the lieutenant's arm, pulling her back. "Fall to the secondary line, now!" We stumble through the ship, dragging the wounded, the Zarketh's guttural cries echoing behind us. My earpiece buzzes, Captain Okoye's voice, strained. "Reyes, their reinforcements are jumping in. 10 minutes out. We're losing ships up here." 10 minutes. I curse under my breath. The Retribution shakes, a deep tremor rattling the walls. They're hitting us from outside, too. Plasma barrages tearing into our hull. I can feel it, the ship bleeding just like we are. "Hold them off," I tell Okoye. "We're handling the borders." Handling. A lie, but it's all I've got. We reach the secondary line, a narrow junction rigged with turrets, and dig in again. The crew's faces are masks of exhaustion, eyes hollow but burning. They don't ask why we're doing this. They know. It's in our blood, our scars, our dead world. The Zarketh hit us hard, a tide of claws and fury. I fire until my pistol clicks empty, then swing it like a club, smashing a mandible. The lieutenant's beside me, her rifle jamming. She drops it, pulls a knife, and drives it into an alien's eye. We're animals now, all of us, reduced to this brutal dance. "Commander," an ensign gasps through the comms. "Their fleet's here, 3 dreadnoughts, dozens of escorts. We're outnumbered." Outnumbered. The word lands like a punch. I see it on the tactical feed, red blips swarming our green. The Vindicator takes a hit, its flank erupting in silence. Okoye's still fighting, but he's a dead man flying. We all are, maybe. I wipe sweat and blood from my eyes, staring at the Zarketh clawing closer. 3,000 years of hate brought us here, and for what? To die in their halls instead of ours? Number, I won't let it end like this. "Reroute power to the core," I say into the comms. "Prep the antimatter cascade." The lieutenant freezes, her knife dripping. "That'll take out everything. Us, them, the planet." I meet her gaze, steady despite the chaos. "It's what we came for." She nods, slow, and relays the order. The ship hums, a death knell rising. We burn their worlds, or we burn with them, The Retribution groans like a dying beast as power surges to its core, the antimatter cascade charging with a low, ominous hum. I feel it in my chest, a vibration that promises oblivion. The corridor is a slaughterhouse, bodies strewn across the deck, human and Zarketh tangled in death. My hands are slick with blood, my pistol long gone, replaced by a jagged piece of metal I ripped from the barricade. It's crude, but it kills just fine. "Commander Reyes," the lieutenant says, her voice hoarse as she reloads her salvaged rifle. "Cascades at 60%, 5 minutes to critical." 5 minutes. I nod, my jaw tight, and drive my makeshift blade into an Zarketh crawling toward us. Its green eyes dim, and I feel nothing. No satisfaction, no relief. Just the weight of what's coming. The antimatter cascade isn't a weapon. It's a reckoning. It'll rip Zarkon Prime apart, turn the Retribution to dust, and take every soul, ours and theirs, with it. A final, screaming answer to their purge. The comms crackle, Okoye's voice faint through the static. "Reyes, we're done up here. Vindicator's crippled. Dreadnoughts are closing. If you've got a miracle, now's the time." No miracles. Just this. "Hold them as long as you can," I say, knowing it's a death sentence. He doesn't reply, but I hear the Vindicator's cannons roar one last time before the line goes dead. Another piece of us lost to the void. The Zarketh in the corridor are faltering, their numbers thinning, but their dreadnoughts outside are a different beast. The ship rocks again, a blast tearing through the outer hull. Alarms scream, red lights bathing us in a hellish glow. I glance at the crew. Fewer now, their faces gaunt, some praying, some staring blankly. They're with me, even in this. I don't know if that's loyalty or despair. 70%, the lieutenant reports, her hands trembling as she braces against the wall. "They're still boarding. Another breach, Deck 7. Deck 7. Too close to the core. If they reach it, they could stop the cascade, and all this, every drop of blood, every burned world will be for nothing." "We move," I say, hauling a wounded soldier to his feet. "Protect the core." We stagger through the ship, a ragged band of survivors, the walls buckling around us. The air's thin, oxygen leaking into space, but we push on. My lungs burn, my vision blurs. But I see her again. My mother, running, falling, gone. This is for her, for all of them. We reach Deck 7, and it's a war zone. Zarketh swarm the corridor, their armor scorched but intact, weapons spitting energy. My crew fires back, a desperate stand, but we're outmatched. I hurl my blade, catch one in the throat, then tackle another, slamming its head against the deck until it stops moving. The lieutenant's beside me, her rifle blazing, but a claw catches her side, and she goes down with a cry. "No!" I drag her behind a console, her blood soaking my hands. She's gasping, eyes wide, but she grabs my arm. "Finish it," she whispers. "Don't let them win." I nod, throat tight, and leave her there, hating myself. The core's ahead, a pulsing sphere of light behind reinforced glass. Zarketh claw at it, their tools sparking against the casing. I charge, screaming, a feral thing born of rage and grief, and take them down, 1, 2, 3, until the floor's slick with their blood. 90%, an ensign's voice buzzes in my ear. "Brace for detonation." I slump against the core, breathing hard, the hum now a roar. The lieutenant's gone still behind me, her rifle silent. The Zarketh are dead or dying, and outside, their fleet closes in. 3,000 years, and it ends here, not in victory but in fire. "Burn it all," I mutter, closing my eyes as the cascade hits critical. The core's roar fills my skull, a deafening pulse that drowns out everything, gunfire, screams, the distant shudder of the Retribution breaking apart. I'm slumped against it, the glass warm against my back, vibrating with the promise of annihilation. The antimatter cascades at critical, seconds from tearing Zarkon Prime, and us into nothing. My hands are sticky with the lieutenant's blood, her last words echoing in my head. Don't let them win. I won't, even if it costs me everything. The comms spit static, a voice breaking through, an ensign, panicked. Commander Reyes, cascade's locked. Someone's overriding it from the bridge. My eyes snap open. Overriding it? That's impossible. Only a handful of us have the codes, and they're here, dead or dying. Betrayal hits me like a fist. Sharp and cold. Someone's turned. I stagger to my feet, the ship tilting as another blast rips through the hull. The Zarketh are gone from this deck, their bodies littering the floor, but outside, their dreadnoughts hammer us relentlessly. If the cascade fails, they'll finish what they started 3,000 years ago. I stumble through the corridor, the walls buckling, sparks raining from torn conduits. My legs scream, my lungs burn, but I push on, driven by fury and something darker. Doubt. Who's left to betray us? Okoye's dead, the lieutenant's gone, the crew's bleeding out. The answer claws at me, but I don't want to face it. Not yet. The bridge is a wreck when I reach it. Consoles smashed, bodies slumped over controls, the viewscreen cracked but still showing Zarkon Prime burning below. A figure stands at the command station, fingers flying over the panel. My second-in-command, Captain Harrow, alive somehow, his uniform torn but his posture defiant. He doesn't see me until I'm on him, slamming him against the console. What the hell are you doing? I roar, my voice raw. He doesn't flinch, his eyes meeting mine, calm, cold, unrepentant. Saving us, Reyes. You're killing us all. Saving us? I shove him harder, my fist trembling. They burned Earth. You'd let them live? They're beaten, he snaps, shoving back. Look at it. Half their planet's ash, their fleet's in chaos. We've won. But this? He gestures at the core's readings, the cascade's countdown frozen at 99%. This isn't victory, it's suicide. I stare at him, chest heaving. He's wrong. They're not beaten. Not while their ships still fly. Not while their empire stands. But his words sink in, poison seeping into cracks I've ignored. The crew's dead or dying. The Retribution's a husk. And I'm about to erase us all. Is this what my mother died for? For me to become them? They'd do it again, I say, quieter now, my grip loosening. You know they would. Maybe, Harrow admits, stepping back. But we're not them, not yet. The ship lurches, a dreadnought's salvo tearing into us. The lights flicker, and I hear it, the cascade's hum faltering. Harrow's override is working. I could stop him, kill him right here, let it all burn. My hand twitches toward the knife at my belt, but I hesitate. 3,000 years of hate scream at me to finish it, to make them pay. But there's something else. Her voice, faint, telling me to run, to live. Commander, an ensign yells from a flickering console. Their flagship's hailing us, offering terms. Terms. Surrender. Mercy. Words the Zarketh never gave us. I look at Harrow, his face a mask of hope I can't feel. Then at the viewscreen, Zarkon Prime smoldering but still there. The cascade's silent now, dead in its cradle. Patch it through, I say, my voice hollow. This isn't over. Not yet. The bridge is a tomb, the air heavy with smoke and the weight of Harrow's betrayal. The viewscreen flickers, casting jagged shadows as the Zarketh flagship's transmission comes through. I stand rigid, my hand still hovering near my knife, Harrow a step behind me. Too close, too alive. The ensign at the console glances my way, his fingers trembling as he patches in the signal. I nod, and the screen resolves into an image that twists my gut. A Zarketh commander stares back, its 7-foot frame draped in scorched armor, mandibles clicking slow and deliberate. Its eyes glow green, unblinking, and the translator hums as its guttural voice spills into our language. Human fleet, this is High Warden Khazrathul. Your assault ends now. We offer ceasefire, terms of survival, refuse, and our dreadnoughts erase you. Survival. The word burns like acid. I see Earth again, flames licking the sky, my mother's hand slipping away. They didn't offer us survival, they offered ash. My fists clench, nails biting into my palms, but Harrow steps forward before I can speak. We accept, he says, his voice steady, cutting through the silence like a blade. Ceasefire. We'll negotiate. What? I whirl on him, grabbing his collar, slamming him back against the console. You don't speak for us? The ensign flinches, the few surviving crew members staring, some with fear, some with something I can't name. Harrow doesn't fight back, just meets my gaze, his jaw set. Someone has to, Reyes. You'd kill us all for a ghost. A ghost. My mother's face flashes again, and I shove him away, breathing hard. The Zarketh commander watches, silent, its mandibles still. I turn to the screen, my voice a low growl. You burned our world. Billions dead. Why should we trust you now? Khazrathul tilts its head, a gesture almost human. You have proven your strength. We underestimated you. This war ends, or none survive. I laugh, a harsh, broken sound. Strength. They call this strength. Our fleet in tatters, the Retribution bleeding out, my crew's bodies scattered like debris. I glance at the tactical display. Red blips outnumber green 10-1. The dreadnoughts loom, their weapons hot, waiting. Harrow's right about one thing. We're dead if we fight. But surrender? To them? Commander, the ensign says, his voice tight. Their guns are powering down, holding position. A ceasefire, a trap, maybe, or a chance. I don't know anymore. My head pounds, the weight of 3,000 years pressing down. I think of the lieutenant, bleeding out on deck 7, whispering, finish it. I think of Okoye, silent in the void. I think of Earth, a blackened husk we'll never reclaim. Stand down, I say finally, the words tasting like bile. But keep weapons primed, no trust. Harrow exhales, relief flickering across his face. I want to hate him for it, for forcing this, but I can't. Not yet. The ensign relays the order, and the Retribution's cannons go quiet, though their hum lingers, a coiled threat. The Zarketh commander nods, its image fading from the screen, leaving us in the wreckage of our own making. Silence falls, heavy and suffocating. I turn to Harrow, my voice low. If this goes wrong, you die first. He doesn't blink. If it goes right, we live. That's worth it. Is it? I don't answer, just walk to the cracked view screen, staring at Zarkon Prime, half burned, still breathing. The Cascade's dead, our vengeance stalled, and now we're bargaining with monsters. I feel the crew's eyes on me, waiting for something, hope, rage, anything. But I've got nothing left to give. Get me a line to the fleet, I say. We're not done yet. The Retribution hangs in the void, a broken shell cradling what's left of us. The ceasefire holds, for now, but the silence is a lie, stretched thin over the hum of primed weapons and the distant glow of Zarkon Prime. I stand at the shattered view screen, hands clenched, staring at the planet we almost erased. Harrow's at my side, too close, his presence a splinter under my skin. The crew watches me, their faces etched with exhaustion and something worse. Hope, fragile and unearned. Fleet's on the line, Commander, the ensign says, his voice unsteady as he patches through the survivors. Static crackles. then resolves into a chorus of battered voices, captains of the few ships still floating, their tones a mix of defiance and despair. "Reyes," one says, her voice rough. "Ecliptic here. We've got hull breaches, no shields. What's the play?" "Harrier reporting," another cuts in. "Lost half my crew. Zarketh dreadnoughts are still out there. Ceasefire or not, they'll turn on us." I don't answer right away, my eyes locked on the planet below. The Zarketh offered terms, but trust is a luxury we lost 3,000 years ago. Harrow shifts beside me, his breath catching like he's about to speak. I cut him off with a look, sharp enough to draw blood. "We hold position," I say into the comms, my voice steady despite the storm inside. "Weapons hot, eyes open, they move. We hit back, hard." A murmur of assent ripples through the fleet, faint but resolute. They're with me, even now, even after everything. I kill the line and turn to Harrow, stepping close, my voice low. "You forced this. If they betray us, it's on you." He meets my gaze, unflinching. "And if they don't, we've got a future. You can't see past the fire, Reyes." The fire. Earth's flames flicker in my mind, unbidden. My sister's cries, my father's silence. I shove it down, but it's there, always there. "Future?" I spit. "They took ours. You'd give them mercy?" "Not mercy," he says, quieter now. "A chance. For us." I want to hit him, to break that calm resolve, but the ensign interrupts, his console beeping frantically. "Commander, incoming transmission. High Warden Khazrathul again." "Put it up," I snap, stepping back from Harrow. The view screen flares, and the Zarketh commander reappears, its green eyes piercing through the haze. Its mandibles click, slower this time, deliberate. "Humans," it says, the translator's voice flat. "We propose retreat. You leave our system, we leave yours. No further blood." "Retreat?" My chest tightens, rage coiling like a spring. Leave after all this? After the Retribution's scars, the Vindicator's grave, the Lieutenant's last breath? I open my mouth to refuse, but Harrow's hand lands on my arm. Light, warning. I shake him off, but his words from before linger. A chance. "Why now?" I demand, staring down Khazrathul. "You've got the numbers. Finish us." The Zarketh tilts its head, a gesture I can't read. "You have proven your will. We have lost much. This ends, or all is ash." I glance at the tactical display. Our fleet's a shadow of what it was, their dreadnoughts still looming. They could crush us, ceasefire or not. But Zarkon Prime burns below, half dead from our wrath. Maybe they're scared. Maybe they should be. "Commander," the ensign whispers. "Fleet's waiting. Orders?" I look at Harrow, his hope a quiet plea, then at the crew. Broken, but alive. 3,000 years of vengeance scream in my veins, but there's something else now. A flicker, faint and unfamiliar. Survival. "Tell the fleet," I say, my voice a blade. "We pull back, but if they follow, we burn them to the last." Khazrathul nods, and the screen goes dark. The bridge exhales, but I don't. This isn't peace. It's a pause. The Retribution limps away from Zarkon Prime, engines groaning as we pull back into the void. The planet recedes on the cracked view screen, a smoldering ruin, its violet glow dimmed by our wrath, but still alive. Too alive. My hands grip the command chair's arms, the worn patch of Earth's flag rough under my fingers. The ceasefire holds, a brittle thread stretched across light years, and the Zarketh dreadnoughts hang back, their weapons silent. For now. I don't trust it. I don't trust anything anymore. "Fleet's in formation," the ensign says, his voice a ghost of itself. "Ecliptic and Harrier report critical damage, but they're moving, heading for the jump point." I nod, my throat tight. The bridge is a graveyard. Empty stations, bloodstains on the deck, the hum of strained systems the only sound. Harrow stands near the tactical console, his eyes on me, waiting for something I can't give. Forgiveness, maybe? Or an admission he was right. He'll get neither. "Jump coordinates locked," he says, breaking the silence. "We're clear in 10 minutes. 10 minutes. An eternity when every second feels like a betrayal of the dead. I see them all. The lieutenant, Okoye, my mother, my sister, faces carved into my soul, demanding I finish what we started. 3,000 years ago, the Zarketh turned Earth to ash, and now I'm walking away, leaving their world breathing. My chest aches with it, a hollow fury I can't shake. "Commander," the ensign cuts in, hesitant, picking up a signal, weak, from the planet. "It's human." "Human?" My head snaps up, and I stride to the console, shoving past Harrow. "Play it!" The speakers crackle, a faint voice breaking through the noise. Tired, desperate. "This is Outpost Delta. Survivors. Zarketh camps. If anyone's out there, please." The signal dies, swallowed by static. Survivors. Humans, trapped down there, left behind after the purge. My stomach twists, a fresh wound opening. We didn't know. All this time, we thought we were the last. And now this. "Scan it," I order, my voice sharp. "Find them." The ensign's hands move fast, the console beeping as it sweeps Zarkon Prime. Harrow steps closer, his face pale. "Reyes, we can't go back. The ceasefire." "Screw the ceasefire," I snap, turning on him. "They're ours. We don't leave them." He grabs my arm, his grip firm. "We go back. We're dead. The fleet's done. Look at us." I yank free, my knife in my hand before I realize it, the blade an inch from his throat. "You don't get it, Harrow. We're not done until they're all free. Or we're all gone." He freezes, eyes wide, but doesn't back down. "You'll kill us for a signal?" The crew stares, tension coiling tight. The ensign clears his throat. "Got a lock, northern quadrant, faint life signs. Could be hundreds." Hundreds. My breath catches. I lower the knife, but the fire in me doesn't fade. "Set a course," I say. "We're going in." "Reyes," Harrow starts, but I cut him off. "Shut up and follow or get off my ship." He hesitates, then nods, stepping back. The Retribution turns, a wounded beast baring its teeth, and the fleet follows, ragged, defiant, human. Zarkon Prime looms again, the ceasefire trembling. I don't care if it breaks. 3,000 years ago they burned us, but we rose from the ashes. Now we'll take our own back, or burn their worlds to the ground trying. The jump point fades behind us, and I smile, a grim, feral thing. This is who we are, not survivors, not ghosts, warriors. And the fight's not over.